Alright guys, so in this video we're actually going to build out something in Adobe Dimension. I'm going to show you how to import assets and how to use assets that Dimension already has. So I'm going to go to Create New. And here I'm just going to go ahead, and since I'm working on my toothpaste bottle, I'm just going to do a quick whip up of a render of that. But I do have a special background that I got that I'm going to import. So I'm going to go to Import as Background. And then in my downloads, I'm going to go, I downloaded this. Since we're doing a toothpaste bottle, I thought it would make sense for it to set on a bathroom sink. So I'm downloading my image of my bathroom sink. This is a photo that I found from Pexels. When you guys download things, make sure that you are downloading good quality images. You know, if you're using stuff on your products that you're modeling, or if you're just using backgrounds, make sure that you get good quality assets. Pexels is a free stock photo website, one of my go-tos, but don't just pull something off of Google, because A, it might be copyrighted, and B, it's probably crap in regards to resolution. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. All right, so I'm gonna show you guys how to edit this two different ways. We are going to start by placing our tube of toothpaste that we're gonna edit onto our sink. So I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to get the basic squeeze tube. So the squeeze tube could be used for anything. And then again, as long as you've got your select tool, you can move this guy around in the space. Now, if something is not behaving like you think it should, you may not have the right sink selected. So with your direct select, you can just move the item around. And this is where we get into editing those points. And it will tell you what things are going to do. So if you want to scale, so if I want to make it this guy taller, I can scale that up a little bit. If I want to scale the z-axis, I don't want to do that because you can see it really like blows that out. I'm going to keep that there. If I want to move amongst the surface, I can do that. If I want to scale the x-axis, so if I wanted to make it wider, I could. So again, if you were doing something more of like a lotion bottle, you might make it a little wider. But for toothpaste, I'm going to keep it kind of like this guy right here. If you want to rotate in the space, you can rotate it forwards or backwards. If you want to rotate the z-axis, if you want to make something look more of a tilt, you can do that. And then I want to, again, you want to move things up or down, but I think that's pretty good there. And then if you want to scale the item, and this is one that I always have to misclick here. I want to scale thing up. Whoops. No, that's not what I want to do. Move to align surfaces. Just moving everything around here, you guys, making sure I've got it lined up like I want. And then got group select. I can also, if I wanted to align something to a scene, I could have it do that. All right, so I've got this in the space here. And then one thing that I want to do, you guys, you know, with your background, so I'm selected on my background image here. If I select match image, this is going to do some of the work for me. And typically you want to do this at the end, but I just want to demo this to show you guys how it works. There we go. All right, so we've got this little dude kind of set up here, lighting's matched. Typically for a showpiece image, you probably would want to do something where it's more focused on the product, but this is just kind of showing you guys how to set something up in an environment, okay? So now I'm going to just so we can focus on our image here. I'm actually going to delete my background image, or just turn off my background image. There we go. And so I can focus on my squeeze tube here. Move this little guy around. Maybe I do want to rotate towards the front so I can see what I'm working on here. So again, you can scale, make it a little bigger, move it down. Hey, there we go. I can really like see what I'm doing here. All right, so again, you want to make sure that you're holding shift when you scale items. And if you want to scale certain other areas, you can. But what I did here was I did the scale Y and I hold shift, and that makes the whole item larger. So this is where we're really going to focus on editing this tube. And again, if we rotate certain areas of it, we can edit the front and the back. You guys only have to do the front of the bottle. So I'm going to start by applying material. So I've got my model, and now I'm going to apply material to this. So I'm going to go down here. And again, I've got all sorts of different materials, but most of these bottles typically tend to be plastic. So I'm obviously going to apply plastic there. Not a ton of change. You'll see the lighting change a little bit. And here's something cool. So I'm going to go click. You want to make sure, if you want to edit both of these individually, you can unlink those. But the first thing that I'm going to do is in my material here, so I'm editing my plastic. And here I can say break link. So currently, whatever, if I change my base color of my bottle, so say for example, I want my bottle to be kind of a, let's make it pink, because why not? I want it to be like a pink plastic, right? But I don't want the cap to be white. So all I do is I go here, because currently these things are linked together. So I unlink that, and then that will allow me to edit my cap individually. Currently I'm still working on the body of my bottle. Here, if I wanted to change the opacity of that pink to really show some of that plastic or make it look kind of clear, I could. If I wanted to change the roughness, like, see, that almost looks faker because I don't have those shadows of the plastic there. If you wanted to make something look more metallic, you can bump that up and make it, you know, a little shinier. But keep in mind, you know, how plastic normally looks and behaves. You don't want to go too crazy because you still want it to look somewhat like an actual product. Go to glow if you want to brighten things up, brighten certain areas. And you can also tweak the translucence as well. So you can change the material, you can change color of the material, and you can change the properties of that material. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go to the lid of my squeeze tube, and because I unlinked those, I can change that. So I want the lid, the cap, just to be white, and the properties there look great. All right, so now I want to bring in, I've got my text, I've got my branding. Again, whatever you put on the bottle, you just have to bring in separate pieces. So I'm going to say my logo, and then my text that goes on my bottle, I'm going to bring that in as a separate piece. I'm going to put my logo on my bottle. You're just going to drag it, and because it's a PNG, this will come in. Showing just the logo there. I can rotate. So here this becomes a decal. If you want it to fill an area, you can click fill, and it like literally fills the whole bottle. But I don't want that. I just want it to be a decal. From here, if you want to change kind of the point of view of this, if you want it to kind of go, you can manipulate that as well. So I kind of like it going off of there a little bit. Yeah, there we go. And again, you can change the properties of this guy as well. Over here, the opacity. So if you want something to show a little bit of the material, you can tweak the opacity. You can tweak the roughness of the decal itself. So if you want that to make it look like it's a slightly different process and material, if you want the logo to look a little bit more metallic, you could beef that up. Again, with the black, that's going to be a little limiting, so you don't want to tweak that too much. So I've got that. Now, for example, say that I wanted to add, I have one of these patterns that I want to add to my bottle. Okay, maybe I want to add stripes to my bottle. So again, decal, if I go to fill, this fills my bottle. I have certain areas here, if I drag this down, layers. Now I currently have some really funky things going on here with this bottle, but if I turn down the opacity, oops, that's the opacity of the logo. Make sure you've got your pattern selected. If I turn down the opacity, it kind of blends into that pink bottle. So if I've got like a print or pattern that I want to show over the pink bottle, I've got my plastic material, but then I've got these fun stripes on there. Again, you can tweak the roughness of that itself and it will add more or less detail. And then you can bump it up if you want to make it look kind of metallic, you can. But again, most plastics aren't super shiny, so I wouldn't really mess a ton. Maybe I want to see what this looks like instead of pink. Maybe I want to see what this looks like as green. You know, I can change the colors. I'm going to go back to the pink. And then maybe I decide the cap. Let's try making the lid of this. Let's make the lid black because that's going to match better with my tube. So I have this really awesome tube that I've customized. Again, you can bring in assets, PNG, JPEG. I'll double check on the Illustrator file. I can't remember if Adobe, off the top of my head, if Adobe Dimension does handle that. But anything that you bring in, so your text, whatever, you just make sure that it is PNG will hold the transparency. If you maybe want to add like another little submark to this, if I wanted to add this little symbol here, you're not limited to everything. You're not limited to just one thing. Scale this down, put it right here. So if it's my toothpaste, maybe this is my flavor. And again, these images, you can add or change out images as well. Okay, got that. I don't super love it. Oops. So I can click on that. Make sure I'm clicking on the right thing. So I've got my different areas here. And now I'm going to add a background. So I still have the background image that I brought in. Obviously this is huge now. I'll go back to my match image, make sure perspective is on there. So when I do the match image, it's going to match the lighting. So you'll notice this did get a little bit darker. I'm gonna, there we go, tweak this little guy. Move it in the space, trying to get him to sit, there we go, on the, so it is aligned to the surface. Maybe I get it to sit on the counter there. Perfect. So now I've got toothpaste sitting on the counter. Maybe I decide I don't want that. Again, I'm going to hide my background image. Maybe I just wanted to bring in just this table here to better showcase my image. Takes it a couple of seconds. Turn on my background image. Bring this guy. Whoops. There we go. And it will kind of align. You'll notice it's magnetic. It kind of knows and can see these planes, and it does some of the guesswork for you. There's my bottle. Maybe I decide, you know, instead of that, I just want to turn the background off, change the background. Maybe I just want this simple gradient background, more of a showpiece, focuses more on my product itself, like a product shot. Turn that back on. Boom. Now you can tweak the lighting. We didn't talk a ton about light, but you can apply different light settings to this if you want. You don't really have to mess with the lighting a ton, so if that's something you're not super comfortable with, we've got time to mess around with that. But there we go. Got this little guy. Again, if I want to take different camera areas, if I get my camera here, I can rotate around, see this in the round. So if there was a back of it, again, I could showcase that. So here, again, I'm gonna bookmark. I'm gonna say view 1, yes, and then maybe I want to rotate this just to the side just a little bit. There we go, and then go to bookmark view 2. Okay, got my 2 different views. And again, I can toggle back and forth to those. And then once I'm ready to render, I go to render. And this is okay. You have different options. So if I want to export view 1 and view 2, I'm going to say both of those. And I'm going to say bottle test. Low quality PSD, a PSD you can take into Photoshop and further edit. Medium, and again, rendering, if you guys are familiar with the 3D rendering process, it can take a little while. I want just a PNG, but I want a high quality PNG, which is going to take it a little while. If I jump here, it'll tell me render status. I'm going to click render, and we'll see how long that actually takes. Maybe it doesn't take too terribly long, but it will give you like an estimated time for rendering. It'll even kind of show you kind of what it's doing behind the scenes. So it's going to be a much sharper image than what we were seeing in the modeling software. And once we get done rendering, we'll be able to view our images. So that's it. Getting up and going in Adobe Dimension.